Hello and welcome to the Buckeyes Postgame Show. Kenny Roda here with you to break down the Buckeyes win over Tulsa. The final in the books, 41-20 over Tulsa. And if you had the Buckeyes and the over, you loved that pick six and the extra point late in that game. The over-under was 60.5 from what my buddy Josh Paloha from Waiting for Next Year told me. And so the pick six extra point gives it a 61 total. You won. Now, if you took the Buckeyes and you gave 26, you do the math. You didn't win there. But the Buckeyes did win. And they bounced back from a loss last week at home against Oregon. And it was a unique day for me today because I actually went to the game, stayed for the first half, have a commitment to come home to. So we left at halftime. The game took so damn long, I was able to catch the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter and watch it on TV at home. So it was unique to be down there for the atmosphere and to Biddle, the band, the pageantry, and the drum major didn't fall. So that was a good start this week as he came running out of the tunnel before the game when they did script Ohio and everything like that. So, but it was hot as hell outside today. I mean, it was 85, 86, somewhere in there as the temperature, but with the sun and the heat index, I got to believe we were in the 90s. We were sweating like crazy. I'm home. I had to change a shirt. I got to get in the shower after this, but I wanted to do the post-game show immediately after the game. And so it was unique for me to go to the game, watch the first half, listen to the third quarter, and then walk in the door at the end of the third quarter, watch the fourth quarter, and see the Buckeyes in a struggle with Tulsa. And I'll be honest with you, my thought process, my approach to the post-game show changed. I'm sitting in the end zone where the band comes out for today's game. So we were in 6A. Those were where our seats were. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching the first quarter, and Tulsa, after they stop Ohio State, as Ohio State got the ball on the opening kickoff, failed, punted, right? And then I'm watching Tulsa from behind the quarterback. So I had a great view of the Ohio State defense. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, oh my God, this is bad again. I mean, Tulsa goes right down the field, and I was shocked they didn't go for it. I think it was 4th or 2 or 4th or 3, and they settled for a field goal to take a 3-0 lead. It was an 18-play drive, I believe. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, God, it's going to be another long day. This is not good for Ohio State. The defense, and then the offense tied it up. They didn't look good in the first half, right? And then they gave up another long drive and a field goal. And you're thinking, here we go again. They skated by Minnesota on the road. They lost last week to Oregon. They're losing at home to freaking the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa, right? So at that point, I'm ready to just, go absolutely bonkers on this Ohio State defense. And I guess changes were made with Combs, not calling the plays as the defensive coordinator and all the different things. But forget that, okay? I'm looking at this going, they don't have the talent on defense. There's a lack of talent. Forget the scheme. This is talent. It's a lack of talent. There are no thumpers. There are no big-time players on defense. And then the offense struggled in that first half. And we'll get to the record-setting performance today by Traveon Henderson. He breaks one off in the first half, puts the Buckeyes up 10-6. And there were a couple of runs early in the second drive, I think. He almost broke them. He got to the corner, got to the outside, but somebody swiped with a hand and knocked him down, or he would have had over 300 yards rushing and maybe broke Trey Sermon's record, okay? But he does break a big one in the second quarter. Buckeyes go up, and it's 13-6 at halftime. So we got to leave. So we're driving back, and I'm listening to the voice of God, Paul Keels, and Jim Lachey call the action, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, all right, it's 13-6 at halftime. Well, what's going to happen here in this third quarter? Well, the Buckeyes outscore the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. What was it? 14-7 in the third quarter. So after three quarters, It's 27-13 Buckeyes. So they're up by 2 touchdowns. And you're starting to feel a little bit better, right? And Traveon Henderson gets rolling. And the offense, CJ Stroud struggled again. You can see the numbers below on the crawl there. 15 of 25, $185. These are unofficial. I tried to get them up ASAP. So these are unofficial, but that's what I saw on a couple of websites and everything like that. So 15 of 25, $185, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 fumble. And I believe because of his struggles today, Ryan Day turned to the running game. And Ryan Day made the right choice there, as CJ Stroud, like this team, is a work in progress, and this is where I'm going. I was ready to rip him at halftime, but then I started thinking about this, and I started hearing names like, well, Trevian Henderson. Let's just give you his numbers. 277, 3 touchdowns, third most ever in a game by an Ohio State running back. Ever. Third most ever. Trey Sermon last year, 331. Eddie George back, 1995, I think it was, 314. And then today, Traveon Henderson, 277. True freshman. And we heard about him, right? We heard about him in camp. He was coming in. Master Teague's the returning guy. Mayan Williams, I don't think he played a snap today, and he was the starter on opening night against Minnesota, scored a touchdown on a long run. Today it was, It was Traveon Henderson. Okay, 1 carry for Mayan Williams. I missed it, 9 yards. Traveon Henderson, 24 for 277. Master Teague, 14 for 62. CJ Stroud, 2 for -14. That's got to change, but we'll get there. Anyways, so I'm watching this, and I'm listening to this, and I get home. I'm watching it on TV after watching it in person just a couple hours earlier, hour and a half earlier, whatever it was. And I'm thinking to myself, true freshman, Traveon Henderson. Big sack late in the game in the fourth quarter. Tyleik Williams, number 91, true freshman. JT Tuamaloa, number 44. Saw him flash today a couple of times. True freshman. Number 33, Jack Sawyer, got in, today. Had a holding call on him. So that means he was going to sack the quarterback. He had to get held. Penalty, true freshman. Cameron Martinez, pick 6, red shirt freshman. And all the over-under guys love Cameron Martinez. Thank you for the pick 6 and the over. True red shirt freshman, Cameron Martinez. CJ Stroud, red shirt freshman. So I was going to go ballistic on this defense, which is still not good. But I've come to this realization after seeing them in person, listening to Paul Keels and Jim Lachey talk about it, and that was it. It was a very unique day for me because I took in this game 3 different ways. In person, in the end zone, watching it develop in front of me, right, for the first half. In the car coming home, listening to Paul Keels and Jim Lachey, and then on TV, watching the fourth quarter, basically. And I thought to myself, you know what? Played the national championship game last year. The last 2-3 years, playoffs 2 years ago, title game last year, a lot of players lost to the NFL. This is Ryan Day's recruiting classes now, right? These are his coming through. He's not doing it with I think, except the senior year with Urban's guys, right? So he's starting to become or have his guys play for him and really make this his team. And I thought to myself, you know what? Alabama squeaked by Florida today. Now, don't get me wrong, Tulsa, I'm not going to put them in the same breath as Florida in the SEC, but still, you lose a lot of guys to the NFL. With the exception of Alabama, they continue to roll, pun intended. Everybody else, Clemson was struggling. They had a weather delay, but I think it was 7-3 the last I saw in that game. They already lost to Georgia earlier, didn't score a touchdown in that game. It's a rebuilding process for Ohio State and some of these other teams too that have been the go-to teams, come the playoffs. And for Ohio State, I said this before the season, then I got caught up in how bad the defense was the first two games. And after viewing it in two different ways today and listening to it today, I've got to go back and remember what I was telling myself before the season started. I don't expect this team to be a playoff contender this year. You had a quarterback in CJ Stroud who had never thrown a pass, right? In a collegiate regular season game. In the first half, he missed at least 4 guys wide open, overthrows. Probably had 5 or 6, maybe 7 for the game. So that's something that has to get better. But that's what you get when you've got in this case, a redshirt freshman quarterback throwing the football. And so I said to myself, you know what? My expectations before the season started were tempered. I was just hoping win the Big Ten, beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, and end up wherever you end up, but I don't expect you to win the national championship this year. And so what I'm hoping after watching this game today is, I'm hoping that the players that are getting the experience now for the Buckeyes, and as they go through those inexperienced struggles, right? That this will pay dividends. These will pay dividends down the road. Now, is CJ Stroud going to be the quarterback in next year or year number 3? Don't know. Quinn Ewers, $1.4 million contract, right? To sign autographs in Texas before he takes a snap at Ohio State. Maybe he takes over for CJ Stroud. Maybe we see a change at quarterback at some time this year. Don't know. But I'm hopeful that a lot of these guys that I just named to you, Traveon Henderson, Tyleik Williams, JT Tuimoloau, Cameron Martinez, CJ Stroud, Jack Sawyer, Cameron Brown. Who's the other, the cornerback too? I want to give, I keep forgetting his name, and I want to call him Denzel Ward, but it's not Denzel Ward. God darn it. And that's the other thing with me. I'm still learning these guys. I don't know all these guys, all these, true freshmen that are coming in and making an impact right away. And I'm loving the fact that maybe, just maybe, Ryan Day is realizing that if we were to win the national championship this year, boy, it would be an amazing feat. And the goal is always to do that. And they will never admit that they're not trying to do that. But I think he's looking at a potential national championship next year or the year after that. Because that's when I think if these guys get the playing time that they're going to continue to get, because these young guys, I hate to say it, some of the upperclassmen going to have to step aside, my friend. Some of these younger guys are better than you. And so I'm hoping that Mr. Day has that in mind. Somebody, if you're out there watching, let me know who the cornerback is. Denzel, I can't think of his last name right now. My bad. But these young guys, I'm hoping that the experience that they will gather this season, however it ends up, will benefit them moving forward. And so, the defense is not good. This team isn't really that good. Let's be honest. They're not. It's not a good football team right now. Yeah, they've got Akron next week. If they don't score 50 on Akron, then there's reason to be concerned. Akron was playing some Bryant College or whatever today. I have no idea where they're from. If they struggle, and it's a 7:30 kickoff next Saturday night, why? I have no idea. Why would you put Ohio State and Akron at 7:30? Anyways, whatever. If they struggle putting 50 on Akron and don't blow them out and cover the spread next week, then there's an issue. But, looking week by week, this team needs to grow and get better. I'm hopeful that by the time they get to that Michigan game, by the time that game rolls around, that the Buckeyes will be a much better football team than they are right now. And they continue with the tradition, which has become beating Michigan every year. That's the big thing. Michigan won again today. Thank you, Quentin Singleton, who texted me here or messaged me here. They did win again today. So this Buckeye team is a work in progress. It's not a reload. This isn't Alabama. Alabama reloads. Ohio State, some of the time reloads, but this isn't a reload. This is, without a doubt, in my opinion, a complete rebuild for this Ohio State football team after falling in the national championship game to Alabama last year. And I know they got crushed 52 to, what was it, 52-28, I think the final was. Out of sight, out of mind. But then again, you were playing with an injured quarterback in Justin Fields. Trey Sermon went down. A couple other guys were down in that game. So I don't know if Ohio State would have beat Alabama, but it wouldn't have been the blowout that it was, okay? But after the last 2 years, playoff semifinal, national championship game this past year, this year's team, new faces everywhere. And those upperclassmen that weren't playing last year, that maybe early in the season here by Ryan Day, he was giving them the benefit of the doubt, loyal to a fault, saying, all right, going to give you guys the opportunity in these first 3 or 4 games to have your spot as a starter, as a junior or as a senior. But guess what? It's going to cost me games. Best guy's going to play. And he came out and said that this week. And I'm paraphrasing here, and it was along the lines of Kerry Coombs and, the defensive coordinator situation and the defense as a whole. But paraphrasing Ryan Day, he said, look, we got to put this team in the best position to win. Amen to that. And today, guess what? Ryan Day realized that C.J. Stroud is still struggling throwing the football. Even though he was the Big Ten Freshman of the Week the last 2 weeks. He struggled today, was off again, missed some wide open receivers for touchdowns, or at least one touchdown. So what did he do? Said, all right, let's see what's working. Oh, Traveon Henderson's working to the tune of 277 yards. Feed the beast. 3 touchdowns, 3 long touchdown runs. As Paul Keels likes to say, taking it to the house. So I like that he took what the defense was giving him today. Didn't try to force a round peg into a square hole, right? Or a square peg into a round hole, whatever that saying is. I never liked that anyways. But what I mean there is he didn't stick with the pass just to stick with it to try and develop C.J. Stroud today. No, he looked at what they had to do to win the game today, and that's the most important thing, and that was run the football. And they did. What they run it for here? Let me look at some of these numbers real quick. 277 and 62. That's what? 339. 348, I think, on the ground, if you don't take into consideration CJ Stroud's minus 14 yards. So, and CJ threw for $185. So you're over 500 yards, but your defense gave up over 500 yards as well. So here's what I think we should do as Buckeye fans for this season. Me, the way I'm going to approach this, I'm going to approach every game, even the Akron game next week, although they should score 50 and blow them out. I'm going to approach that game and every game. Are they getting better? Not, are they going to compete for a national championship like I did last year or the year before? All these young guys, all these new names, I'm still learning them. Hoping that somebody helped me. I feel bad not knowing, the one cornerback who's, thrown into the fire there and is, playing a lot. I need to learn these guys. And maybe if they play more, then we'll learn more about them. If they are out there making plays and helping this team win, we will look at them in 1, 2, maybe 3 years as players that are part of a national championship contending team. Let's see here. Got some messages I want to read here. Brad Hajasic, Craig Easterday, and a couple of others. Leslie Ball are watching us. Leslie Ball, always good to see you on here with us. The Rose Bowl is an outside possibility. Let's wait and see. Akron next week. Great interception returned by Martinez from Craig Easterday. Burke, there we go. Thank you. That was from Philip Mead. Philip Mead, thank you so much. Denzel Burke is the cornerback I couldn't think of. He's a kid now that's been getting some serious reps. And he's a true freshman from Scottsdale, Arizona. Denzel Burke. So hold on. I'm going to my sheet here, and I'm going to make sure I put his name down because he's a guy that I'm going to continue to watch and see how he progresses. He's number 29. So Denzel Burke, another one of those guys. So thank you again there, Philip Mead, on that. Ron Keller says, go Zips. What's up, Grandpa? Hope things are well in North Carolina. I am going to take you up on that offer. Come visit you down there someday here, maybe in the next 6 months. Who knows? We'll see, Ronnie. Tell Julie I said hi. Craig Easterday, Zips won 35-14 over Bryant, whoever the hell Bryant is. Let's see here. Brad Hojasic says, we're going to struggle to win the Big Ten. That might be fair. Yeah. That's a possibility. Iowa's very good. Michigan's undefeated so far. They're better than they were last year. You know they're licking their chops, hoping that this is the year they get to, end the streak and beat Ohio State. Let's see here. Ron Keller again says number 35, Tommy Eichenberg from St. Iggy did much better today. He's a sophomore. Maybe he's another one of those names that sticks around all 4 years. They need some help, man, at linebacker. They haven't had a linebacker since Raekwon McMillan. Not good. Craig Easterday makes a good point here, too. He says, I guess I'm spoiled by the success the Bucs have had over the last several years. I expect these players to make plays like the teams of the past. I think we all do. And we need to maybe temper our expectations because they're not Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Trey Sermon, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, who's struggling to hang on at the NFL level now. Let's see here. A couple of other comments. Michigan State beat Miami of Florida today. So Michigan State, the Big Ten, getting some wins. So, yeah, it's going to be a struggle this year. It's going to be a struggle in the Big Ten. And I'm looking at the schedule, printed this out. So here's how it goes. It goes Akron next week, at home, 7:30 kickoff at the Shoe. At Rutgers, they were winning the last I heard. Maryland at home, 12 o'clock kickoff on October 9th. Let's see here. Then you have a bye week after the Maryland game. Then you get into the meat grinder of the Big Ten. You're at Indiana, Saturday, October 23rd. Penix Jr., quarterback. Let's see here. What else? Penn State after Indiana at home. Nebraska on the road. Purdue lost to Notre Dame today. Michigan State, Michigan. They're going to lose another game somewhere along the way here. They are. It's going to happen with all these young kids. Just is. You hope it's not the Michigan game, right? And you hope if you lose one, it won't knock you out of playing in the Big Ten championship game. They just are. I've covered enough sports to know young, inexperienced players, the only way they get better is by playing and making mistakes and learning from mistakes. Yeah, you'd love to learn from a win every time, but it's just not realistic in my opinion. So let's temper our expectations for this team. Don't even talk playoffs. Playoffs? Playoffs? Are you kidding? No, we're not even going to talk playoffs. Forget that. Forget the semifinals and the national championship. Let's go week by week with this football team. And I know it's not what you're used to as Buckeye fans, but I think you have to, or you're going to go crazy. You're going to lose your mind because the defense is still not very good. They're going to continue to struggle. And if they play young guys are going to make mistakes. So I still don't know if it's the scheme, if it's the coaches, or if it's the players on defense. From what I saw today, I think the players could be a big part of that. So let's find out who deserves to play and who can make plays on defense. Offensively, Traveon Henderson, stud. No doubt in my mind, stud. Garrett Wilson, another touchdown grab today, 14th or 15th touchdown catch at Ohio State for him. How about Chris Olave? 4 targets, no catches. First game, I think, for him that he didn't get a catch since he's been a starter, or maybe ever. So loaded at wide receiver. Traveon Henderson's your starter now at running back. You figured that out. C.J. Stroud, I mean, put up big numbers in his first 2 games. Not so much today. Don't know if he's the answer. So let's see if, they look in the quarterback room, because you hope you're blowing out Akron next week, so you give some of these other guys an opportunity to play, right? You want to go into your depth chart. You want to go and offer up some real game experience. You want to find out about some of these other quarterbacks that you have on the roster. Quinn Ewers, 6'2", 200, out of South Lake, Texas, and he should be a senior in high school. Kyle McCord, my bad. Kyle McCord, 6'3", 210, true freshman out of Philadelphia, PA. Jack Miller III, 6'3", 215, freshman, Scottsdale, Arizona. So you hope next week you're blowing Akron out and you stick with Stroud probably going into the game, but give those other guys a look and see if anybody maybe deserves more reps. And then on defense, you hope that some of the guys we talked about today, and Tyleik Williams, the big sack today, big number 91, JT Tuamaloa, number 44, Jack Sawyer, 33, Cameron Martinez, number 10, Denzel Burke, number 29, Seven Banks. I heard his name mentioned today, so it's good to get him back. Rascal, Garrett had a couple of plays today. Not enough, but a couple. So that's how I'm going to approach the rest of this season for the Buckeyes. Am I going to get on them when they play terrible? If they lose a game, yeah, we're going to tell you why they lost and what the hell's going on out there. Who was that? Vince Lombardi or Hank Stram? But like I said, I may not be as hard, but yeah, I'm going to question things. I'm not going to back off just because, they've got some young guys at Ohio State. You're expected to win. Those are the expectations every year. Maybe one loss and playing in the semifinals minimum, right? But this year, I'm not even thinking about that. Akron next. Then after that, Rutgers, then Maryland. Then you get into that tough part of the schedule in the Big Ten, and you hope by then, how many games is that? Akron, Rutgers, Maryland, there's a bye in there. So you got 3 games before you face Indiana, who played you tough. What was it? Last year, I think it was, or the year before, whatever it was. Last year, or the year before, played you tough. I think it was last year. And Penix Jr. Saw him today. I didn't get a final on that. Let me look and see before we get off here. I want to see what the final was on that game. I was watching it a little bit on the TV when we were actually down in Columbus today. I'll give you some updates here. Clemson's winning 14-3 in the fourth quarter over Georgia Tech. Okay? Georgia, 14-6 over South Carolina, so they're struggling. Penn State losing against Auburn right now. It's early in the first quarter, 3-0. Alabama, 31-29. They squeak by number 11, Florida, but they win. Oklahoma, a touchdown better than Nebraska only, and they're the number 3 team in the country, 23-6, even though they're undefeated. Iowa today, they beat Kent State, but only by a 30-7 score. But Iowa looks to be one of the top teams, if not the top team in the Big Ten right now. Cincinnati, are you kidding me? Oh, I was all set to give props to Michael Penix Jr. and the Hoosiers, but I think the Bearcats were down 14-0, and Luke Fickell's squad, how about that? The Bearcats, number 8 in the country, they come back and win it 38-24 over Indiana. But still, Indiana's much better than they've been in recent years. Notre Dame beats Purdue 27-13. Let's see here. Some of the other games, anything. Miami, ranked 24th. Michigan State goes there, beats Miami 38-17. Michigan rolled Northern Illinois 63-10. That's what the Buckeyes should do to Akron next week. Okay? So there's some of the scores, some thoughts from me. Congratulations to Traveon Henderson. Sets a freshman record, 277 yards, third all-time on the list behind only Trey Sermon and Eddie George. Buckeyes get the win. That's the most important thing. Improve to 2-1. Yes, they have a lot of work to do, especially on defense, and too many penalties today. So let's hope more practice. Next week's game against Akron, where you hope to play a lot of players to gain experience. They continue to get better each week as they get into the meat of the schedule in the Big Ten. All right, thanks to everybody who texted, messaged us, tweeted at us, all of the above. For everybody watching out there, we appreciate it. Buckeyes get a good win. We'll talk to you next week after. I'm going to make a prediction right now. Buckeyes beat Akron next week. Let's see, how many touchdowns? That'd be 9 is 63, 10 is 70, right? I'm going to go 63-7 Buckeyes beat Akron next week, and we'll talk to you about that, and we'll see how many of these young guys made more plays next week and maybe what some of the other quarterbacks did next week. All right, everybody have a great week. Hey, don't forget, too, tomorrow after the Browns game, we'll do our Browns postgame show here on Facebook. So after the Browns beat the Houston Texans, and I've got the Browns winning 35-14, by the way, after they beat the Texans, may not be immediately after the game, but look for it, and I'll send it out on Twitter. We'll do a Browns post-game show here on Facebook, and then Michael Regai and I will do what we always do with the Regai Roda podcast now, where all podcasts are found. You can go look for it, Regai Roda podcast. We'll do a late-night podcast on what happened with the Brownies as well. So a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. It's football season. We love it. Have a great rest of your Saturday night, folks, and thanks for tuning in. Go Bucks.